Let's say you bought your favorite piece of land, but you hated the house. Most people will bulldoze it and build it up. But no one's gonna ever build on quicksand. You always build a foundation before you build your building. So foundation is your insurance. The building is your wealth, was your investment.
If you're watching this episode, you're interested in finance and making money. But a small disclaimer to get us started here. Do your own research. This content is intended to be used and must be used for informational purposes only. It is very important to do your own analysis before making any investment based on your own personal circumstances. You should take independent financial advice from a professional in connection with or independently research and verify any information that you find in this episode, whether for the purpose of making an investment decision or otherwise. Phew, that was a mouthful. Well, now that's over. Enjoy the show. Jacky Ip, thank you for coming on Connect the Dots. How are you today, my friend?
Amazing. Thank you for asking.
Of course. And so for those of you who don't know Jacky is a CFP. He's a certified financial planner. He's also known as a creative financial re-engineer. He works for Ocean 6 Wealth Advisory, and he's a facilitator of financial dreams into reality. And not only that, but he serves with a level of transparency and clarity in order to set this new standard for the fee-for-service industry. So without further ado, Jacky, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Alex, I just want to say your show is amazing, and I think you're on the path of greatness because a lot of people are lost in this world, and your channel is going to help a lot of people.
Thank you so much for that. And so what I want to do is dive right in and ask you, what's your story? How'd you get started into this, and who do you love working with?
Thank you for asking. My story did start off a bit of a long story, but the way I like to put it is it started off with me winning a car. I won a car back at a Canucks game before it was Rogers Arena. It was called GM Place. And for those who are listening who may not know the Vancouver area, that's basically our NHL arena for our hockey team. So again, the short version of this, I won a car and I was going to spend it all. My wife or girlfriend at the time, but wife now, she basically said, no, not allowed to do that. The winnings was hers. So we're investing this money in our first piece of real estate because we were not going to get married until we had a place together. So that gave me the motivation and push for me to get out of my comfort zone. I got out of my 9-to-5 computer science job and I headed down this financial advisory path because I was already kind of doing it on the side as a part-time thing, but I never made the full commitment into the industry until that point. So that was, 10 years ago now. So here I am. Clearly, I've made some success. I found some success in the business. And what I really enjoyed doing the most was actually helping people just like where I was when I first started. I got out of school. I had all the tools and resources to get a job, but no one, this is the thing that I always say, nothing in our school system prepared us for the real life. It teaches us how to get a job, get a 9-to-5, do the grunt work, get paid. But the story ended there. School never taught us where the story and the path would go after that. So I, like maybe a lot of listeners, I went to my local branch, a bank to look for some answers. And I didn't get a lot. I was maybe because I only had a few $1,000s to my name. I didn't get any of the service or any of the things that I was hoping to receive. And that started that financial journey of me figuring out what I should do with my money. How can I get more successful and become more responsible with my money? And this led me down to finding my first mentor, my manager. And that's how I got into the business. But what I really always kind of remember is that feeling of being lost, confused, and just have no idea what I'm supposed to do with this paycheck. And again, I guess for me, I was lucky that my parents taught me young that I should save some money. That's the only reason why I even went to the bank in the first place. Because so many times I see clients and friends and family who just blow out their first paycheck. And now they look back a few years and they wish they're farther ahead. I just don't want that kind of lack of literacy, financial literacy in this world anymore. I'm set on a mission to try and teach and educate and inspire as many people as I possibly can.
Nice. And wow, that's such an inspiring story to hear. I'm so glad you said that. And I have a thought experiment for the people listening right now. take your income. What bracket are you in? Depending on where you are in the world, but if you're in Canada, you're obviously working with a bracket system. What bracket do you fall in? And what's your income tax bracket? How much is your money actually being given to the government, right? Can I answer that? I don't know. I'm putting myself on the spot here, but it's a large sum. And I'm sure there's tons more that people need to realize that, you know, the money isn't actually theirs in their pocket and it goes to other places. So what would you say to somebody getting started on this financial journey? I mean, there's so many ways that our money can be spent, can be saved. Where do we even start?
Yeah, the very first question actually, or the first tip that I give my clients is pay yourself first. And it's a cheesy saying, and maybe it's been read or written in different books as well. Wealthy Barber comes to mind when I say that. Paying yourself first is really meaning before you spend money, which really is you giving your money away to other people and paying their bills and paying their income, pay yourself first. Pay your future self first. Invest the time, invest the money for the future. So if it's education that you're after, because I'm a big believer of investing in yourself, investing in your business, because those are things you can control. Investing in the market, and so a lot of clients would immediately think that as a financial advisor, I want to invest all their money. Actually, that's not what I preach. I preach invest in yourself, invest in your business. Those are the only two real assets that you can control and have full control of the outcome and a massive more income potential from. Everything else is necessary. They're tools. If you are in the job that you love, you're doing the things that you're doing, and you still need to invest extra, that's fine. You can do investment in real estate, you can do investment in mutual funds and whatnot, but always invest in yourself and education, business and education first. And so pay yourself. Remember to always set aside 10 to 15% of your income away for that future, whatever that future looks like. Even if you don't have one, put it away first. You're gonna come to a day where you're gonna need to spend that money, and you wish you had saved it earlier. And so never live in that gap. Never look back and say, I wish I was farther ahead, because you forgot to pay yourself first. It's so important that you need to have that clear cash flow plan.
Right. So cash flow plan. Now, for those that are listening, the audience is filled with coaches, filled with entrepreneurs, and obviously they're going through the grind of, trying to make money, and to save might not even cross their mind. They may have good months, they may have bad months. So what kind of, all-weather plan would you suggest to these kind of people who may be making, 1 month could be 5,000, could be 2,000, and the next month could be 10. We don't know.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of different entrepreneurs and business owners. Definitely, when you're more established, things are more predictable. You know sort of baseline of where things are. Everybody started somewhere, and so did I. When I first entered the financial business, the advisory business, we were self-employed, so there's no paycheck. You kind of go out there and find your own clients, and you create your own book of business. So what I've done and what I did was I just made a notion that it's a little bit like what you said about CRA. When you first get your paycheck, you know what? You already gave money away to CRA. You know you're going to be taxed at the end of the year. So you either save for it or you frantically try and do it at the end of the year. And hopefully that 1 month is enough for you to cover your expenses. So that's not obviously plan. That latter version is not always the best plan. The best plan is always to put some money away every month. So all you're doing is simply including another 10% on top of that and saying, putting away approximately 25% to 30% is what we expect. So just in your mind, every time you get $1,000, $300 has to be put away, either for taxes or for your future self. It's just something you need to remember and be disciplined in doing. And it's so easy for us to fall in that trap of spending first and figure it out later. What ends up happening is the second lesson that most people will learn very quickly if you did that is getting themselves into debt. So debt management and understanding how debt works is part 2 of the financial journey. So step 1, cash flow. Figure out how you're going to start to put things away, or what kind of income you're looking at, what kind of income you need to make a standard of living for yourself. Second is debt management, making sure you don't get into too much unnecessary debts, or find a way to use debts that's more beneficial for you, because there are such things as good debts out there. Right. And a classic example of that is basically a mortgage. Nobody has $1 million to buy a Vancouver property here. All borrow to do it. but you don't mind doing it because you know your property is going to go up in value. So it's very, very different mindset when you start to think about debt as a financial tool for gains rather than for interest loss. So make sure that you have some cash flow plan. And then the second thing I would recommend is getting a personal line of credit through your bank, which basically frees up some of your savings account, and it gets you out of credit card situation. Because if you end up racking up some credit card, you're actually paying 20%, 22% in interest debt. So instead of paying that to the bank, what you want to do is get a line of credit, which is usually substantially less interest rate. It's usually about 6 to 10, depending on your credit score. So from there, you just, at the time of due date, instead of owing the credit card, you owe the line of credit. You're going to save thousands and thousands of dollars on debt management if you just knew those simple things.
Yeah, wow, that's really some great pragmatic advice. And I was actually going to dive deeper into getting specific, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So there could be two cases that I'm seeing here. We do have debt, and obviously you said debt comes second, if that's what I heard correctly, right?
Yeah.
But the cash flow, so knowing where your cash is coming from, where it's going.
Yeah.
So say you didn't have debt,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I can only think of like a gajillion different places we can put this cash. I mean, I could put it in the stock, I could put it in a bond, I could put it in high interest savings. Like, where is the place to put this money if it's only 30% of what we get?
Yeah, nice, good question. So, so the next step in the financial journey process is actually the first step before you even invest is you need to think about your biggest asset. So for most viewers, for most listeners right now, when I ask you this question, what is your biggest current asset? Most people's thought will start to wander towards what they physically have. Well, let's do this. Alex, what is your biggest asset? What do you think? You don't need to give a number, just what is it physically?
What is my biggest asset? Probably a condo.
A condo, a property, very classic. A property, a car, a collectible. Most clients would say that. My business, even some people would say that. Actually, the number one asset is your ability to make an income. Without your income, everything else doesn't matter. You wouldn't have it. You just wouldn't have those other future assets, or you could potentially lose your current assets if you could no longer work. So protecting your biggest asset is actually all about protecting your income. What are you going to do to make sure that you are ensuring the ability for you to continue to work? So that's two parts. You're either going to get some insurance to help you out, especially when you're in your early days of working, you don't have a lot of asset. You got to start to have, you got to shelter that risk. You got to pass on that risk to the insurance company. Second way of thinking about it is, once you have some asset, are you doing the right things to make sure that it pays a passive income to yourself so you can replace your working income whenever you want to retire or have these situations where you cannot work for a couple months? So those are the two key things you need to start thinking about, depending on where you are in your life and in your situation, how you're going to start to replace your active income with money that can come in passively without you having to work. Because there's the statistic is quite astounding in Canada, at least. I think the answer is like 80% of Canadians, so don't quote me on this, but I believe it's 80% of Canadians will not work for about 2 years of their lifetime before they retire. So that's a high probability of you not having income for 2 years. So what are you doing with those? How are you going to handle that situation? So having that plan in place is so important before you think about investing. And the way I kind of look at it, especially in Vancouver, is let's say you bought your favorite piece of land, but you hated the house. Most people will bulldoze it and build it up. But no one's going to ever build on quicksand. You always build a foundation before you build your building. So foundation is your insurance. The building is your wealth, was your investment. So before you can grow your investment, you got to set up some foundation to make sure that it does not fall and sink when bad days come.
Thank you for that. So building the foundation, super important, guys, whoever's tuning in. And so what I'm hearing, and out of all of this is foundation lies with insurance, right? Mm-hmm. So this could be coming from either your employer, and if people wanted to start investing in insurance or putting money away in insurance, do they just go to the bank? How do they approach that in the best way for themselves?
Yeah, so a very common misconception as well. Most people think you go to your bank for all your financial products or financial services. And unfortunately, that's just not the case. Now, banks have started to kind of expand their services and their expertise, but what banks are good at is banking. Traditionally speaking, they are good at checking and savings account, cash flow in and out, and credit cards and lines of credits and mortgage loans. So banking is really where you keep your money temporarily, short term, or get loans. That's what they're really good at. Where there's kind of three pillars to financial industry. The first pillar is the bank. Everybody goes there. It's like the Starbucks is how I put it. It's like the Starbucks of the coffee world. If you want a decent cup of coffee, you go to Starbucks. Like it's there. It's convenient. It's every corner. Then you've got your boutique stores where they specialize in certain types of coffee. So that's your investments and insurance brokerage. So investment brokerage are your typical stock brokerage where you TD Waterhouse in Canada would be a classic one. So TD Bank is where you bank. TD Waterhouse is where maybe you would take your investment money. And there's actually an arm called TD Insurance, which typically people don't go to because those insurance products are geared towards either mortgage insurance or specific to their other services. They kind of tie all in. So with the insurance side of things, you really want to look for an insurance broker. And that's where I started in my career. I was an insurance broker. I primarily dealt with insurance-based products. I still do. I have a license to do so today. But the where I found the difference was insurance salespeople are great at selling you an insurance policy or some segregated funds, which is an insurance-based investment. So those are very basic insurance tools that you need. Those are tools, products that you must have in your financial journey. However, they're not the best planners and advice givers because what they tend to do, and that's where we were taught, is that you would create problems or you listen to the client's problems and find a product that fits that solution, that problem. So they will do a lot of selling and hard pushing about how these products are going to service you and how it's going to work. And there's nothing wrong with that. Where I found the difference is where there was a lack of transparency. When you go see one of these people, they said, we'll give you the advice. We'll come see us. We'll give you the advice for free. And when we win your trust, we hope that you buy the products from us. Well, the advice themselves are geared towards the products. So that's where the difference and the disconnect is. If you're getting paid by commission, it's a very natural thing for you to think about the product and how you're going to benefit and waste your time seeing a client and pushing them to buy that product. Whereas the advice model or the fee-for-service model that you have mentioned at Ocean 6, we're very different. Where we differ is that you've already paid us. You've already paid us for our time and our expertise in building your financial plan. So in my mind, when I see a client at Ocean 6, we don't think about the product. We pretend that client is going to buy the product somewhere else. Somebody they know, somebody they're close with, or is already going to sell them the insurance or investment policies that they need. That's fine. I'm still doing my job of planning your finances with a written financial plan. And then you take that plan, the blueprint is what we call it. It's like a blueprint of a house. You take what you need to do to set up your foundations and you go to the people, buy the tools and the products you need to actually create your dreams. But the plan itself, the blueprint, is all designed from the information that you've given us, and you've already paid us for that expertise. There's no longer the bias of, hey, when I see Alex, I better sell him a product and I better create some problems that fit that product. That doesn't become an issue for us when we see our clients and go through our process now.
Nice. No, I really love that. And what I'm hearing there's a story that I'm reminded of. It's the butcher and the dietitian. I don't know if you heard this one.
I have not.
So if you think about it, these financial planners who are very geared towards commission are kind of like the butchers, right? When they sell the good stuff, the good meat, they get more income. So, that's really great. But then you got people like yourself and those at Ocean 6, where you're kind of like a dietitian, where you kind of dissect what people really need. Tell them, take a dose of, vitamin C and a dose of vitamin E, and this will be really good for you because that's what you actually need. So that's what's resonating to me here right now.
Yeah.
I love that approach.
So a common example that we usually see is a client would come through the door and said, hey, we want to set up some investment and real estate opportunity. Let's get some investment done through real estate. Traditionally speaking, if you were a asset manager or you're selling investments as just your primary source of income, that advisor will do the so-called financial advising and planning and show you that the cost of real estate is very high. There's strata fees, there's property taxes, there's management stuff. So there is a lot of things that could go wrong with your real estate. So they start to encourage you not to put that money towards a down payment for investment property. Instead, they'll start to tell you, why don't you invest in the market? It's much more liquid. It's easy to get access to. It has the same rate of return potentials. And so they start to gear you towards that product. And so where Ocean 6 is different is we take a look at your entire sum. What do you have in the market? What kind of real estate do you have? What is your current structure? Especially with business owners, there's a way for you to own properties inside your corporation. So should you own it in your name, your personal name, or through your corporation? Where is the tax benefits between all of those things? So we dive much deeper in that conversation rather than surface level. We don't want you to invest in real estate because we want you to give us that down payment to invest. We actually just, at Ocean 6, we actually just want what's the best for the client with the, what we call the risk appropriate investment. So some clients do come to us and say, we want to buy real estate, but after going through the process, we realize real estate is not something that they enjoy doing, and they just buying because all their buddies bought. So it's like really wrong reason to invest. So that's the reason, like those are some of the stories that we have lots of to say you should or you shouldn't. But it's super personalized in that regards.
Right. So that's a really big thing, a big topic here. Whoever's listening right now, be careful who you take advice from, because it might not be the best one. And you probably want to go to the pros, especially guys at Ocean 6, who will give you this blueprint. And I want to dive into that a little bit more. What do we need to start getting this blueprint made for us? I mean, is this blueprint for everybody? Could it be for a student? Could it be for, a seasoned investor? Who's it for?
Good question. Thank you for asking that one. Our ideal market at Ocean 6 is the business owner or incorporated professionals. So someone who's been are really good at what they do, and they're known as sort of the expert in their field. And they've found some success, and now they have a corporation, or they're thinking about getting a corporation, and how to mitigate some of those taxes and take advantage of their corporation structure. Just because you have a business and a corporation doesn't mean that necessarily that you've set up things properly to take the maximum advantage of it. Especially in Canada, I should say really, especially in BC, our highest tax bracket, as you mentioned, Alex, earlier, is actually 50%. I believe the exact number is like 53% or something like that. So every time you make $1,000, you're actually giving more than half of it away to the CRA if you weren't planning and structuring it properly. Our corporate taxes are a much lower bracket, and we need to start taking advantage more for the corporate side of things. So if you've got a corporation and you may or may not know if you're doing it the right, a lot of these clients will already have amazing accountants. We're not there to replace that. The accountant's job is to file taxes, do some bookkeeping, making sure you're on the right side of CRA. Our job is to look for opportunities that you can capture within the corporation based on those same CRA guidelines. I kind of think of it like the rule books of a game. If you ever play Monopoly, there's a rule book. If you don't understand how the rules work, you're not going to know how to play the game effectively. So how are you going to play this tax game effectively is by working with your accountants and a fantastic financial advisor / certified financial planner to really get a grasp of how the tax system works in Canada and how you can start becoming the advantageous one instead of just giving all your paycheck to your CRAs. Right. So that's where the blueprint really is going to extremely benefit. But during this time of COVID, we actually launched our new program called the Blueprint Essentials. We understand that not everyone has a corporation, or maybe they're not ready for corporation, but they still need help because most advisors out there are product-based. They don't have someone like us that they can go to for some unbiased advice that really kind of set them up for the future. So the Essential program is an interactive workshop for anyone. Sort of, we kind of ballpark it around $100,000 to $150,000 family income. So if you earn about $100,000 to $150,000 as a couple or as a single person, you would get a lot of benefit from that interactive workshop, because you're going to start to build your own cash flow plan. You're going to know how to take advantage of your debts and beat the banks. you're going to start to create and review insurance policies that are actually justified, not someone just sold you more products. And then really do a deep dive of your current investment portfolio to see if they're risk appropriate for you and your goals. So that workshop, it comes also with a one-on-one 90-minute call after the workshop, where you can then ask very direct question that's specific to you, and you now would have built what we call the Blueprint Essential. What's different between that one and the full blueprint is you're not going to get the retirement planning, estate planning, and the corporation planning with the Blueprint Essentials. So a lot of our clients would more or less fit in that bucket first, and then through there, if they have corporate questions, we start to escalate that to the full blueprint, or we're actually making a middle tier for young incorporations, early days of incorporation. We don't have a name for that yet, but we're kind of building that middle gap where you're not the super successful in your business yet, but you're getting there. And I need a corporate plan now because I just started my corporation. How should I deal with it before I have an explosive growth in my business?
Right. And I assume everybody who has a corporation, that is the plan, to have that explosive growth. And if you want a sound plan, you definitely go to these guys at Ocean 6. And so now I'm curious too, do you only work within Canada, or I know a bunch of listeners are in the United States as well. Are you able to serve them too?
Unfortunately, not really. The reason why is we are provincially driven. So in Canada, our license and the ability for us to do what we do are provincially based. So right now at Ocean 6, we have the primary 3 provinces done: BC, Alberta, and Ontario. If you're a listener and you're interested to find out more, within those 3 provinces, you're definitely going to be able to work with us. If you are not in those provinces, or if you're in the United States and you've got some Canadian influence, or you want to, because we're best at Canadian taxes, right? Not that, actually I should say, I am not good at US tax. I only know the basic because I've got some clients who've moved down to the States, but I cannot give official about those things. And if you want just more of a guideline of, hey, I need some help with my cash flow, I need some help with on debt management ideas, can you work with me? Definitely. We're basically can't service you or give you an actual blueprint, but we can have conversations. And I'm more than happy if you can reach out directly through my contacts at the end. I'm more than happy to just guide you along the way, or I'll find you the contact information that you might need or can benefit from in your local city or local town.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jacky, for that. And for those of you who are tuning in, you heard it from him. If he can't help you, he will definitely set you on the right path. So I want to take this opportunity to say all his details will be in the description below for those of you watching YouTube. If you're on podcast, definitely check out the YouTube video, and we'll get you in the right path on getting closer to your blueprint is what we hope to do, right?
Yes.
So I want to take this opportunity to say thanks so much, Jacky. It was an honor to have you on the show. Thank you for bringing all this value, and I look forward to talking to you next time.
Thanks, Alec. Thanks again for having me. Amazing job on this podcast, and I hope everybody did get something. And I know we didn't get into the details of it, but if anybody wants more information, check out our company website at ocean6.ca, or reach out directly to me, like Alex said, in my contacts below. And we have lots of other free information that you can definitely take advantage of. We've got a blog. We just launched our podcast. We've got a YouTube channel going as well. So if you cannot work with us, or you're not ready to work with us at this point, check out our stuff online first. You're going to get a lot of information from there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jacky. All right. You have a good one.
Thanks, Alex. Have a good day.
See ya. Hey guys, Alex here. Thank you for stopping by my channel. If you're a coach, if you're an entrepreneur, or even a creator, you've come to the right place. Here we talk about creation, we talk about business, and we talk about coaching. And I'm creating all these resources just for people like yourself so that you can up your game and make your business even better. If you really like this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button below right here and hit that notification bell so you know exactly when my next video is going to be released. And if you find it useful, share it with somebody that you know, like, or trust. So have a great day, stay amazing, stay blessed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.